Good day, everyone. This time we're going to take a closer look on how we can have match control and the HTML element spacing in improving its layout beside each other. We're going to tackle the CSS Box Model, plus some other CSS properties that will help us define it more visually. So we'll check out here first before we push through the basic concepts of the CSS Box Model. What we have here is our HTML page structure from 2 weeks ago where we learned about CSS formatting. And here's our external style.css file. So this is what it looks like, remember? It's decent, though it can do much better, especially if we add up what we learned just last week. Well, last week we designed a business website, and one of the highlights there would be how we've created a navigational menu bar, right? And yeah, we're going to apply it right away here on our class website. Um, So here, I've already commented out the navigational menu that we're going to need. Let's remove the comment tags and then um, let's get the image here so that we can use it as a logo. In order for us to have our navigational bar to sit right next to each other, um, we have to use the CSS display property. However, we can just apply it right away. At least not on our navigational menu items here. We'll have a possible conflict on our unordered lists um, with our with the other unordered list. For this one and this is the other one. So we have to make a distinction between the two by using a child selector div ULLI to point specifically on our navigational menu. On the upcoming weeks, we'll be learning about other CSS selectors, particularly the ID and class selectors, to add more distinction and control over our HTML elements. We don't also want the borders here on our navigational menu. So let's get rid of that border. And let's put this tree, our image logo, our header, and our navigational menu items in an inline black display, then make them align in the middle vertically. So let's try to refresh it. Um, so this is what we have so far as the navigational bar. The logo, the header, and the navigational menu running horizontally alongside each other. We'll be making adjustments on our next stop once we learn more about the CSS Box Model. So here we are. Let's learn about the parts of the CSS Box Model. Content. It's a text or image or any form of content of an HTML element that is displayed on the web page. Its dimension is defined by width and height. Border has its style set initially to none, so it's not displayed by default. That's why you should set its border style to make it appear for a given element via CSS. Padding is an invisible space between your content and its border. This helps on giving some breathing space, especially for text contents when you chose to make your borders visible. Margin is a space you can set to an element's content apart from other elements' content. So the four sides of the CSS border, padding, and margin can be set individually by adding a suffix of either top, right, bottom, or left. So here in our example, it would be as simple as border tab, padding tab, margin tab, then the border right, padding right, and margin right. And as you guessed it, some goes for both our bottom and left, again, for border, padding, and margin. So let's apply this individual properties to our web page. You'll notice that both the ordered and the unordered lists, plus their headings, were a bit cramped up vertically. We'll put their selectors H2, UL, OL, a top padding of 10px and a 5px bottom padding. Then we'll make both the lists UL and OL to come closer to its headings by placing a 5px on both their top margin and the headings bottom margin. We'll also put a 20px left margin and a 10px right margin for our logo image, div img. Then we'll define its height and width with 50px. If you'll notice, we have here our style, our inline style. We'll just have to remove it here. So we can accommodate it here at our CSS. So let's try to refresh it. There we go. Better spacing on our lists and headings here. Both margin and padding properties have four sides and can easily be defined all at once by using their shorthand properties. You can actually define some specified value combination to apply these properties to its corresponding side locations. One value is applied on all four sides. For two values, the first value will be applied to both top and bottom side, while the second value will be applied to both right and left side. For three values, the first value applies to the top side, the second is for both right and left sides, and the third value applies to the bottom side. For four values, each value is applied to a specified side on a pre-defined order, which starts with the top side, then the right side, bottom side, and lastly, with the left side. So let's apply these shorthand properties while we are finishing up the web page. We'll use a one value shorthand here. So for the body, we'll add margin and padding, a value of 10px to its CSS. Again, this means that all sides will have a 10px space for both properties. We'll also put a border with 5px width, style double, and color 6495ED. We'll also put a border radius of 5px. And lastly, we'll apply the two value shorthand along with a better color adaptation to our navigation menu. With the navigation menu, you'll notice that it's just like a default active link display without an underline. You can also see that the navigational menu items are just too close to each other. Now what we liked is to modify the navigational menu items link div ULLIA to change its font color to 649ED when active and make its font weight to bold. We'll also put a solid style border with the same color as the font, 1px width and a 5px border radius. And to apply the two value shorthand, we'll put a 3px top and bottom padding and a 12px left and right padding too. After making all those small adjustments, hopefully you've seen how much you can control this spacing in between every element to create a huge difference on how you can display them on your web page. So that's it for the week. I hope you've learned a lot. Have a good day and see you next week.